I've worked with Bear for a very long time, mostly involved in clinical operations, managing my own global studies, and currently managing a team of global study managers. So recruitment is a large element of operations, and it's something that, as Ingrid said, is very competitive. And that's one of the challenges that all sponsors need to deal with, competition against themselves. But I'm happy to speak today and share my perspective on how this use case might be of mutual benefit. And in fact, many of the benefits are similar for all stakeholders, and I've heard some really great insights right now. I've been part of this use case since almost the beginning, March of 2020, and many of the viewpoints that have been shared today, we've discussed as a team. So it's great to also reconfirm and get even more information to help us with our use case. So to start with, I'd like to share my viewpoint with 3 very specific benefits that I deem to be both significant now and in the future. Next slide, please. The first mutual benefit, and it's the most obvious and fundamental to our solution, is that increasing clinical trial participation is a common goal for all sponsors. The use case intends to widen the funnel of subject recruitment and thereby accelerate the pace of medicine's development. And we hope to do this more efficiently, with lower costs, and with the highest privacy standards. The possibility to eliminate redundant workflows and solutions to recruit patients would result in huge cost reductions, which could certainly allow for more R&D opportunities, new medicines, like we said, and more clinical trials for patients. Some internal estimates have calculated a potential cost reduction of 5% for both recruitment and trial administration expenditures. Obviously, it's an estimate and could be biased a little bit, but that's a huge number that we look to potentially save a significant amount of money. By extension, pooled funding from across sponsors would enable more investment to better promote this matching service, improving it and maximizing its potential. Patients will only share their data if they trust that the matching utility will protect their privacy. Patients in our solution will have the opportunity to consent to how their information is used and shared, never without their permission, allowing them the ability to access, change, or remove their information from the database at any time. Sponsors will only share their clinical trials if they trust that the matching utility is fair and equitable. Sponsors working together would necessitate that the highest standards of data privacy are maintained and further strengthened. The full provenance of our matching transaction will be anchored on the blockchain technology, hopefully bringing trust to all parties. Next slide, please. Sponsors have individually spent much effort in the last many years to better demonstrate patient-first imperatives. Our hope that our platform fully supports patient empowerment and engagement values to allow for informed decisions. Posting all trials from all sponsors for patients to choose from should be one more step for sponsors to enhance transparency for patients. Over the last few years, sponsors have spent much time and effort posting end-of-trial results, creating trial finder websites, for example, or even investigating mechanisms to share individual clinical trial data back to patients. The fact that the matching algorithm is neutral and does not favor any trial or sponsors exemplifies the idea of patient-first centric values that many sponsors should seek to strengthen. I don't mention it on the slides, but the trial matching is an essential step to further support decentralized clinical trials. DCT is a big area of interest currently and is quickly evolving as the future of clinical trial operations. The flexibility offered to patients, which which various elements of DCT can offer, such as remote visits, wearables, or direct-to-patient drug shipments, starts with patients choosing to match trials, which could originate from our platform. Furthermore, the sponsor-agnostic nature of this matching service would also strengthen partnerships with patient advocacy groups, which pairs naturally with patient-first imperatives. As mentioned again, our platform leverages blockchain technology at its foundation, allowing an increase in trust between patient and sponsor, both in regards to privacy and the patient's choice, so that it's not biased. Next slide, please. And one really important opportunity, which this platform, I hope, would be of mutual benefit, is to improve diversity in patient recruitment. This is an important objective to advancing health equity. The FDA released in April of this year draft guidance entitled Diversity Plans to Improve Enrollment of Participants from Underrepresented Racial and Ethnic Populations in Clinical Trials. This follows earlier guidance from November of 2020 aimed at enhancing diversity, and it described approaches study sponsors could take to increase diversity generally in trial enrollment. Currently, this is something that we're talking about at Bayer, and quite frankly, it's a challenge, especially in underrepresented minority groups. But I think improving diversity could be done in a couple of ways. First and fundamentally, the platform should stimulate clinical trial awareness for all patients, allowing diverse patient populations an equal opportunity to find the best clinical trial option for their needs in a simple, unbiased manner. Certainly, some of these underrepresented minority patients have serious trust issues when it comes to clinical trials. It's my hope that our platform can improve their trust with all sponsors. Finally, simplifying the patient journey starts by simplifying the selection of the best clinical trial for patients. Reducing this barrier to participation should improve diversity in patient recruitment. Thank you for your attention. I'll get off script and be happy to answer any questions.
I mean, the important difference that we have here is that we would, if this trial matching solution would go through, if we would establish it, that would be a big collaboration between most of the large pharma companies joining forces here. I think that is and driven by this collaboration. In contrast to what we currently have, that pharma companies work with service providers who enable such a matchmaking environment, but that is on a case-by-case basis, so to say. Here we would have a completely different approach that would more be like, let's say, the concept of the big department stores or closed department stores, where the different brands are all in one building, assuming that this makes it more attractive to go to this place and expecting that everyone would then find something suitable in such a large offering here. We have one comment. Patient centricity is something we have not seen in global clinical trials consent processes. Mind the gap between sponsor, CRO, and the front line. Would you want to? I was thinking that this came from you, because Mind the Gap sounds very much about you. So if you want to unmute yourself, you.
No, thanks, Tom. I share your quest for patient centricity, and we would be keen to work to see how to do it. But there is a big gap in our experience between the sponsor, wherever he or she is, the contract research organization that has contracted to do the research, and the frontline clinician. And the sponsor tends to have a fairly mechanistic view to procedures. Dare I say, not a very clinically enlightened one, for acceptable reasons that they have a job to do. The CRO is in the position where they've contracted and they have a salary, to a sum of money they're protecting. And we find that when the clinician turns up, usually late on, they often say, "Oh, well, actually, we wouldn't be doing it like that anyway." And I don't know what we're keen to try and work out how to close the gap. We might say mind the gap, but we want to close the gap.
Right. I mean, I think all the stakeholders know each other. I think they should figure out how to better work with each other. And certainly that's part of each sponsor's processes and plans in terms of how to connect with the various players and making sure that all the players connect with each other. Where our service gets into, well, kind of where it begins and ends, we ask the patient to allow them to be contacted by sponsors, or sorry, by investigators. So the sponsor isn't really that involved. So part of the discussion that we need to figure out as a use case is when the patient agrees to be contacted by sponsors, by investigators again, how does that happen efficiently? And I think you're right, there's a gap there, and that's actually a really key component of the use case that we hope we can actually get some information from here today, because it kind of ends, if you will, with the patient saying, let me be contacted by the investigator site. And then from there, it's really dependent on the sites to kind of move forward.
Yes, I mean, there may be a spin-off from PharmaLedger. Actually, it will improve this contact because it will create a platform where access for patients is to sponsors and is easier. Thanks.
Yeah, there is a very important aspect from Tanya Sharma that in an underrepresented area, if there are technology and language barriers, how would access to clinical trials be managed then for those patients? Is the platform here, or let's say our trial solution here, trial matching solution, something that could help to overcome these barriers? Would language be something that such a platform would have to enable? No, would we need translations?
Well, from a matching service, I mean, we haven't really gotten into any other languages that would be used, you know, for the patients to read about the clinical trial information. Certainly, from the point the patient consents to being contacted by their site in their location, that interaction would be in their local language.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to the polling.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. So, should pharma companies and academic institutions collaborate to jointly provide a trial matchmaking infrastructure, so that it's not just an industry initiative, but that it's really aimed very strongly at getting academic institutions, investigator-initiated trials, so to say, also putting in their information into such a trial matchmaking solution. And there we have a very, very clear view. Everybody says, yes, it should be both. It should be really all type of trials and all type of sponsors. It is very important here to get this as a joint initiative. Okay, next question, please. Would posting trials in a comprehensive matchmaking system be a relevant element of transparency on clinical trials? This overall initiative that we have to improve transparency, would such a comprehensive matchmaking solution contribute to that? Okay, I think also here we see quite a bold agreement amongst the participants that it would really help the overall transparency intentions, and in this way then to build trust. Okay, excellent.